Alright, we are using the interactive map to take a quick look, hopefully a quick look at Tract 2 at the Tracts at White River. You can see it here. Got a little arrow pointing to it. These are 10-acre tracts. Tract 2 is about 330 feet east to west by about 1320 north to south. If we were to zoom out just a little bit, it's toward the northwest part of the development. So you've got the White River over here, and then going east, you're going to have Tract 1, Tract 2, etc. So it's extremely close to the access to the river. We've got two roads that you can use to access various parts of Tract 2. The greenish road you see here is Lock 3 Road, because it serves this dam and lock up here, which is called Dam and Lock 3. The dam is the part that holds the water back. The lock is the little part off to the side here that can allow boats to go through by raising and lowering the water level in the lock. So Lock 3 Road, that's actually a county road, and then the purple lines that you see on the map are existing easement roads. So with Tract 2, you've got Lock 3 Road, which crosses over the south side down there. And then we've got the easement road that crosses diagonally over about the middle of the property. So you've got kind of a couple different ways to access the property. It's heavily wooded, as you can see from the video. Probably mostly hardwood out here, although interestingly we just we're checking out the ground videos, and we did a short ground video on the south end here on Lock 3 Road looking at the property, and then we actually did a video of this easement road that started at the Y in the road, and we took it up to the end of the easement road, basically on Tract 5. And the portion on Tract 2 we have in the listing page, you can see that. And we actually found, I think, the first pine tree that we've seen out here appeared to be on Tract 2, and it was a big pine, and there were several of them, but I believe that was when we come on and we're going easterly, we get just barely right onto the property, and then we look to our right and we see that big pine tree. So that was kind of cool to see on the property. These darker trees that you see are probably pines or cedars. I would say they're probably cedars for sure, but since we happen to see that pine tree and several others on this property, they could be pines as well. Let's go to a topo map so you can kind of see how this is situated. Okay, see if I can figure this out. This interactive map is going to be very similar to the map you'll see in the listing page, except the one in the listing page might not be specifically labeled for Tract 2, but otherwise it's essentially identical map. Okay, so here's Tract 2. Let's start here. So on the south end, Lock 3 Road, the topo map shows it as a solid black line, but you can still see where it is. So from there, if you were to go straight north, the property rises up, and I think we see that in the ground video as well. Excuse me. If you happen to see it above the little hand where it says Tract 111111 10.46, those are just kind of generic numbers that it input when we didn't label the tract. So most of these tracts are Tract 111111. But so yeah, back to the topography from Lock 3 Road. As we go north, it rises up, and looking at the video, some of the parts from the road look steep, and then there was a part toward the southeast side where it looked like could potentially without too much hassle do a driveway going up, maybe at an angle, because as we look at the topo map, this area up here appears to level off. And again, I think we saw that in the ground video when we were pointing up the hill. You could basically look up and see where it started to level off, and that's going to be this area here. So with that, even without a driveway, you've got access via this other easement road, which is kind of handy. You're going to have a 50-foot, I believe it's a 50-foot setback from the center line of the roads for structures and building and parking and whatnot, which is actually half of what the setback is on most of the projects we've done. Usually it's a 100-foot setback. Out here, I believe we've done a 50-foot setback just to give you a little more space. So in this case, I don't know if we have a measuring function on this or not. Here we do, yep. So if we go to the measurement, and this would just be, approximate, but if we go from the center of the road, we want to get out 50 feet. Oop. Upper right is where it's showing the perimeter measurement, and there's 50 feet right there. So if you look where that little X is, so you've got a lot of land beyond that, and you'll have setback from the side boundaries as well, but that's less than 50 feet. So I think if this topo map is at all accurate, you've got a large enough level area right here where you could do something if you wanted to. Moving forward from there, the property slopes down to this other creek bed at the bottom of what appears to be a pretty good sized valley, and then that goes northeast diagonally, or I guess when the water's running it would go southwest because it's going to end up in the White River. So this is going to be a wet weather creek. There was no water running in it the day we were out there. I believe in the drone video we zoomed down to see, well, the one spot we zoomed in on, there was no water running. But yeah, it's going to be a wet weather creek. And we mentioned this in the other videos as well, but if you're looking for, potentially some cool rock features or even a spring or a cave, a property like this is a good place to start. We have found some caves and we have found some springs over the years. We really haven't looked for any out here because we just haven't had the time, but basically any time we've found a cave, it's been topography similar to this, and that, we're not cave experts, but we've stumbled upon a few, and we've viewed a lot of other existing ones that are known caves, and a lot of times they'll be in a valley like this. They will not necessarily be right at the bottom. They might be about halfway up where the cave opening is, although some have been at the bottom and some have been more toward the top. But more often than not, somewhere in the middle is where you'll have that cave opening, and it really won't look like anything until you get right up to it and kind of get your head in there, and then that's where you'll see what's going on. So that's be something to check out if you were to have this property. That's one thing we would for sure look at. But you'll obviously, either way, you're going to have some really cool rock features. I mean, you're talking about many thousands of years of water coming through here at different times, which can do a lot to shape the ground and do some neat stuff. And yeah, it'd just be exciting to check that out. As far as having a ton of level ground, there are tracts that have more level ground. So if you're looking for something that has a big yard where you can park a couple, RVs when you're out hunting or camping or whatnot, like we said earlier, you've got an area down here which could potentially give you some space, but it's not going to give you 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 acres of level ground like you might have on Tract 1 or some of these other tracts. But man, having that valley go through there is pretty cool. That could also be potentially something that if you wanted to create a large pond, you could do some kind of dam there at the bottom of the valley. That's a possibility. But yeah, heavily wooded property, a good location, very close to the White River itself, which is really neat. And one more thing we'll do here, we'll go to the overlays. We've got a video on this in the listing, but we'll go ahead and show it here. We've got a layer for the FEMA floodplain. FEMA floodplain. So usually a river like this would have a massive amount of floodplain for properties this close. But the cool thing is we flip it on, and if it's going to work, there it goes. Okay. Floodplain, it always shows that the river itself is part of the floodplain, just because why not? But then the only other portion is going to be this little area almost adjacent to Lock 3 Road, because that's also where this little creek bed is, which I believe is called Rowlett Creek. So for Tract 2, by and large, Rowlett Creek, other than maybe a couple little blips, is just either on the south line or just south of the property. So there's a little bit of that map flood zone adjacent to Rowlett Creek, and that's really all it's showing. So if we back up, Rowlett Creek has a little on the north, Glen Creek has a little on the south, and then the river has most of it. And the reason that, without going into too much detail, the reason that there's just not much flood zone on this east side is because if you look at this west side, we have this huge bottom ground, which is basically cropland or grassland or pasture or field. And in a flood situation, that's where the water goes first. So before it can even come onto the east side of the banks, it has to fill up this entire west side with several feet of water, which is a massive amount, plus whatever fields may be a little bit up or downstream. They all have to fill before it starts coming to the east, for the most part, other than the creek beds, which obviously can be a little lower. So pretty neat to see that you got a property, I mean, geez, within just a few hundred feet of the actual White River, and it's got basically no flood zone. So that's pretty cool. So that's a quick look at Tract 2. If you have any questions, just give us a shout. We'd love to hear from you. These tracts will go fast, and we don't have anything else anywhere near the White River. We've never had anything near the White River, so we're excited about these. And this one is 400 or 500 feet from the water, it looks like. So awesome property. If you have any questions, just let us know.